Programming on 90.7 WKGC and the Commodore Sports Network is sponsored by Sweet Bay. Sweet Bay is a bayfront village in Panama City that features parks, walking trails to the water, a future town center, and more. A community connected at the water's edge, Sweet Bay. More information about Sweet Bay online at sweetbayfl.com or 844-35-SWEET.
This is Coach's Corner.
Welcome, Commodore fans, to Coach's Corner, a production of Gulf Coast State College and the digital media program here at the college. Talking to Coach Rooney Scoville today about Lady Commodores' overall record, 14-2, 2-1 in the panel conference, ranked number 2 in the state coaches poll, ranked number 7 in the NJCA national poll. So trying to work our way through this first round. A lot of exciting games, but really every panel conference game is going to be exciting.
It really is. When you look at the scores, you know, we've had some overtimes, had some close games. You know, it's pretty much every game has been played in the fourth quarter. Nothing blown out before then. So as we move, you know, we've got 9 games to play. This is going to be kind of exciting. And right now, you know you want to win, but you don't know who else you want to try to help you for your destiny. But so best thing is win yourself and be in control of your own destiny.
So played Wednesday night, this past Wednesday, against Northwest Florida.
Yeah.
Lady Raiders, ranked number 1 in the country, ranked number 1 in the state coaches poll, and a pretty sophomore-laden team, have all the pieces. Lady Commodores came up a little short, 75-67, but let's walk our way through that game and talk about it. End of the first quarter, Lady Commodores up 19-18.
Yeah, you know, we jumped out there, and I think it was like a 10-0 lead. We hit a few shots, and they had to kind of get settled. And sometimes that's a bad thing because you get a false sense of security that it's going to be easy. And then as they kind of grinded it out and turned up their defense, and then all of a sudden it's a game. And you know, but it was a good game. We changed the lead several times. In the second half, you know, when we went up 3, I thought we might be in the driver's seat, and then we turned it over on our possession to go up 5 or 6 if we could have hit a shot, and then they turned around and you know went like 3 unanswered possessions, and that was kind of the game at that point. That something that we have to fight through, that we can't finish those big plays, you know, to take over, and we're just not composed at those times, and that's where Northwest probably having an experienced team and a veteran team. They've done a pretty good job of finishing, and that's why they're 3-0 in conference play.
So very good right now. At halftime, it was 35-40 Lady Commodores, and then it was 56-55, and then it finished it up 75-67. So in a game at home against a very, very good team that defeated Chipola Saturday night.
Yeah, you know, they're composed. Like we say, it's nice to know that we were close to the team that's number 1 in the state and number 1 in the country, and that it could have gone our way. Just you know, a few less turnovers and a few more shots that we could have finished on, and we were right there of maybe winning that ball game. So we're close. We got to go to work. Got to get better. But you know, we had 40 points in the first half. And then to finish with, you know, only get 27 in the second against a very, very good team. That's where we're just so inconsistent, and we have to get better.
And a couple of things. They had a CC Mayo that scored 20 points from them.
Yeah.
She was kind of like a spark plug, a go-to player for them.
Yeah, comes off the bench. You know, you always want that player off the bench that might be your best player. And she was obviously that night for them, and she's been playing some really, really good ball, hard to match up with, hard to guard. And you know, and we just didn't do a good job when she came in and gave her a lot of points. Their post game kind of got us. You know,
McCoy came back with 18.
Yeah, and she didn't score but like 4 in the first half. So we just didn't finish. I think that's just the key word, and it's kind of been the key word. You know, thank goodness we've only had 2 losses to say that gets us. You know, we've won a lot of ball games, but that is something we have to get better as we move into the last of this round and into the second round.
And if we look at it, Alexis Dye, you know, with 17 points, Dee Dee with 13 for that night. So that's kind of where we were. Came up a little short, but you've got a lot of freshmen.
Yeah, we just have a lot of new players, and you know, we just can't figure out how to put the pieces of the puzzle together and what to look for. You know, we'll get somebody hot, and then all of a sudden, you know, they don't touch it again. We don't have that awareness yet, that court awareness and that game awareness. And you know, when you're trying to get a lot of new people to to get together, and sometimes it's hard, and it has been real hard for us this year.
It's been hard because those players in high school were the go-to players.
Oh, absolutely.
And then when you put them on a team that has 5 go-to players on there, it's a little shift.
Yeah, well, it's just hard. It's hard to play your role, to figure out what your role is, and take pride in it. And again, we've got good role players. We just got to get us to play our role, and that's that's the coach's job. Try to figure out what button to push. And I told Coach Hicks this morning, I've pushed a lot of buttons. I feel like I've recycled and started all over, and we're on round 2 of pushing buttons, but we're going to continue to push, and we're going to continue to work, and something good may happen.
So, and then with Saturday night on the road with the Pensacola,
Yeah.
171-59, and a lot closer ball game than the final score really shows. It was 21-15 first quarter, and then at halftime it was 32-37. And then in third quarter, it's 47-45. So,
I know.
We got a little separation at the end, but a much tighter game than that through most of it.
Yeah, that third quarter seems to be an issue with us. We went in at half, whether we have a 5-point lead or a 2 or 4, and then we always somehow either they're ahead or we're only up by 1. And so we can't hang on to those leads. And, but again, in the fourth quarter, we're on the road. Somebody said, gosh, you played better on the road. I was like, because that's what we did all year. We only played 2 games at home before pre-conference. So maybe we need to schedule all our games on the road, because we've certainly done better that way. But, we got a big one this Saturday at home.
So before we jump there, let's talk about Lexus Dye with a double-double Saturday night. 19 points, 14 rebounds. She's been pretty consistent for you.
For about the last probably 5 or 6 games, kind of the go-to player, and we got to learn how to create more for her, and she's going to have to work harder because the double teams are going to get tougher. And then hopefully, but the only good thing about Saturday night was we had 4 people in double figures. And that's what we thought we had when we started this season, that we were going to have some diversity in our offensive, output. So that was the first night. Even though it was a little bit ugly, we did have some diversity in how we scored. So if we can continue to get that and get 4 or 5 people involved in the offense, that when they double team Lex, we hit the outside shot, or vice versa, we can play in and out, then we're going to be a lot more competitive.
So like you said, Gay with 10, Bandu with 12, and Davis with 11. I think Bandu had a better outing.
She definitely did. Just talked about that this morning. Bought in a little more into the running game. She scored in transition more, and she's a big guard. So, if she'll run that floor a little better in our transition game, I think that's going to open up a lot of things. So hopefully that was a step in the right direction for her. And and for our team, because it's going to be crucial that we can get our running game established.
And in her case, she came from another country to come play ball here, and is a freshman. So that's like 2 hurdles to have to jump over.
Yeah, we've had that a lot. We've had some really good players that were freshmen that were All-Americans. So she's that caliber player. It's just a matter of I got to build. And then she had an injury in Indiana. She's had to overcome that. So like you say, there's a lot for your international players to overcome in their first season. But I think she's going to get better and better.
She'll get better and better and play in there. Ostuge, a returning sophomore, one of your returning sophomores, at the top of the key. Does she need to pull that 3 ball a little more up there, or?
Well, she has to have time to do it. She hit one the other night, and so against Chattahoochee Valley, she did it, and we wouldn't have won if she didn't hit those. So again, we have these pieces. They're just not consistent from game to game, and we have to somehow build that consistency with what people can do, and they have to do it consistently.
Yeah, and in that case, because if she hits that, the defense has got to play a little different.
Right,
and it allows us to be able to penetrate and get in there a little bit and do those things. But doing a tremendous, to be 2-1 in the panel conference,
absolutely,
it's still good because not all teams are. Some are still looking for those first wins.
I know.
So we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. We have a big game. We're off Wednesday. We play 3 games in a row. And we'll play Saturday. Being off Wednesday a good thing or a bad thing?
I think this week it's a good thing, because we can watch a little film, talk about the things that don't look good, and talk about the things that have looked a little better in the last week or 2. And try to get better at those ones. So it's going to be a good week for us to kind of go hard, instead of you have to be careful the day before a game that you're not going too long or too hard, and be rested. So I think this is a good week for us to just get some skill development, some team building process. So I think it's going to be good for us to be out this week.
So and then we'll play Chipola here And it's always a battle. Gulf Coast and Chipola has been battles for years.
Yes, I hope it is.
So it'll come back and be their fans come, our fans
Yes.
come. So it'll be an exciting ball game to come watch. But what do you expect from Chipola?
Well, their guard play is very good, and their defenses might be more aggressive than anybody in the Panhandle. So that's going to be a piece for us. That's going to be tough. And they have some veteran players. They've got 2 or 3 back from last year, and then they added a nice shooter and some size. So Chipola's going to be their normal Chipola, probably a little better than they were in the last year or two. They're going to come at you, and they're going to be real aggressive. Going to be good. Obviously, Coach Franklin coaches them up, and so we're going to have to be ready.
And so there'll be a battle. Come out, support Lady Commodores.
Yes.
Now, we play at a different time Saturday.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I loved playing it too over in Tallahassee and Central Time, and we're going to try it at Gulf Coast. So I think that it's definitely for travel's sake and just for people to come and watch and still do something on that evening. So I'm excited that we're going to have a big crowd, and I hope we do, because I think we're going to need the fans to help us try to compete in this one.
So if we look at the panel conference standing right now, Northwest Florida 3-0, Gulf Coast State College 2-1, Chipola 1-1, Tallahassee 0-2, and Pensacola State College 0-2. A little surprising for Tallahassee to be 0-2, but
Well,
that's the panel conference.
Right, but last year they played a play-in game and made it to the state tournament and then made it to the national tournament, won the whole thing. But that tells you how strong Panhandle play is, that the defending national champions are 0-2 to start the conference play.
So now Chipola will play Pensacola State College at Chipola. And that game will be a big game. And then the other big game is Tallahassee will be at Northwest Florida.
I think Northwest goes to Tallahassee.
Did I get them all wrong?
I think you might get.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Only thing I know is Gulf Coast is playing at home at 2 p.m.
2 p.m. So anyway, but Tallahassee and Northwest are going to tie up, and that can be and depending on the location, would be a big factor.
Could be a factor, yes, absolutely.
So those are 2 big games that are coming up, and because every game is a big game, and they're all counting, because only 2 teams will move on to the state tournament.
I know, but then, that's exciting as a coach. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to get in those games that are tight, and you like just told our girls this morning, when you're playing offense and defense and subbing in and getting the right pieces and strategy as a coach, that's a lot of fun. So hopefully we'll continue to get better so that we can throw some different things at teams.
And the good and bad of 2 teams is if you get there, then in the second round you wouldn't have to potentially play another panel conference team.
Oh, yeah,
because usually if there's 3 there, usually that second game could be against another panel conference team. So disadvantage is that 3rd team won't be there.
Yeah, you wouldn't see them till the final night if you get to go. Right now, Gulf Coast has got to get way better to start thinking about Ocala.
So want to briefly talk about, we have a lot of folks that watch us on cable TV. We're still waiting on the cable companies to repair those links. Once those links are repaired, those feed going back out. If you watch it on your local cable channel, they will go back out free of charge. The game will be, no matter what, be pay-per-view. We had folks tune in, watch the pay-per-view. So it'll also be on the radio. So if you don't do pay-per-view, tune us in on WKGC 90.7 FM.
Perfect.
So we'll have both of those coming up. And that kind of thing. So we have about a minute, Coach. You got anything else you'd like to talk about? So this is one of those times we just kind of went boom, 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 and right through it and moved through it.
Except that, you look around, there's progress every day on campus, and we're getting more lights, more computers, more access, so you just thankful that we're rebuilding, and everybody's got such a great attitude about that. So, I guess thanks to the campus and community and the workers and employees that we're all fighting this fight together and still getting to do what we do.
And you're still playing basketball and rebuilding the outside of the gym as we speak.
Yeah.
Because the lifts are up there and they're taking siding off and putting new siding up and rebuilding it, and being limited for somewhat, having to travel at preseason to find places to practice. And to be where we're at now, we're very fortunate.
Absolutely.
So for Coach Rooney School, I'm James Baxley. I'll be right back after this spot, Commodore fans, with Coach Jay Powell, and talk about how the Commodores did on the Commodore Sports Network.
Programming on 90.7 WKGC and the Commodore Sports Network is sponsored by Sweet Bay. Sweet Bay is a bayfront village in Panama City that features parks, walking trails to the water, a future town center, and more. A community connected at the water's edge, Sweet Bay. More information about Sweet Bay online at sweetbayfl.com or 844-35-SWEET.
Welcome back, Commodore fans. I got Coach Jay Powell going to talk about how the Commodores did in 2 games last week and what we have coming up this week. Commodores right now 12-8 overall, 0-3 in the panel conference, and receiving votes in the state coaches poll. Coach, you have a very young freshman team and a lot of freshmen coming back, and we played a very, very good sophomore-laden Northwest Florida State College team. Came up a little short, 78-65. Let's start talking about that. In the half, it was 40-29.
Yes, during the first half, especially, maybe the men were a little tentative. And we talked about this at halftime briefly, but then after the game, maybe there wasn't a total belief on the guys' part that, hey, we can and we should go, especially at home, we can go compete and win against these guys. They were just a little hesitant. And as you mentioned, maybe youth and inexperience and, obviously a lot of accolades already this season for Northwest team. I felt like as the game went on, we got a little better about that. We had cut it back down to 8 going into the last possession of the first half, and it was one of those doggone moments where they missed a 14-foot jumper, but one of our guys forgot to block out, and it went right back to the shooter, and he kicked it out, and they made a 3 at the buzzer. So it could have been, 8, or possibly get that rebound and go fast and maybe get a bucket. Probably not. But then all of a sudden they make that 3 at the buzzer, and they're up 11 on us, and so that that hurts your momentum, and it kind of makes guys question a little bit, like, man, we've been working hard and we had it down to 8 and we were right there. So we tried to pick them back up at halftime and say, guys, come on, you got to believe, and you have to keep working. And at times in the second half we had some bright spots, and at times we didn't. But overall, it is it's tough to lose a game like that, and it's tough to lose at home. At the same time, I thought, especially the last 4 or 5 minutes, the guys showed a lot of heart and kept competing. And we had an opportunity in transition to cut it to 8 again, and with a minute 21 or 22 left in the game, but we didn't capitalize on that. So we kept fighting for the full 40.
And they kept fighting. Kelly with 14 points for you. I thought that was a good night for him.
Jarrell has done a lot of good things. He shoots the ball pretty well for his size. His percentages aren't showing that yet, but he does. He's got a nice left-handed stroke, and there has been several games this year where he has really competed and done a good job at a high level, especially for a freshman. It seems like we have several in the state, several big guys that are sophomores, and he's come in and done a nice job, and I've been proud of Jarrell many times this year. So
Holding gives you 20 points. I thought he played hard from camp to camp for you that night.
Yes, Cam's a hard-nosed young man, and he likes to compete. After the Tallahassee game, going into the Northwest Florida game, and a little bit in the Pensacola game, and this is natural for a young man, and and then you address it with them, they kind of have an aha moment. Hey, just because you were going strong and drawing fouls in that TCC game, maybe you're not going to get the calls. Maybe they're not going to foul you. You've got to be going in there to get us a bucket. Oh. And then if they foul you, great. And so he had some moments like that. But Cam's a hard-nosed young man, and he continues a long line of guys that we've had that have been really good in the middle against the zone. Will Robinson last year, Kobe Gooseby several years ago, and we could go on down the line. Marquez Gilstrap years ago, Javon Dawson. of we get the ball in the middle and they can see their teammates when they're open, and they can also put the ball in the hoop themselves. So I'm really excited about Cam.
And so Owens gives you 12 for tonight.
Jacoby has had such great numbers in some games. He's going to be the focus of defense sometimes, and he's very talented, super athletic, and so Jacoby is one of those guys that even though he's not very tall, he has a big upside and can be a very effective player. And after that, he even said after the game, maybe early on we just didn't really fully get after it. We were a little hesitant, and so hopefully it's a situation that we go in, we played hard, but we learn from some mistakes and we get better.
We move on now from Northwest. Hamlet and Henry both had 20 big time points for those guys that night.
Yes, we were, I don't want to say surprised because they're all very talented. We were a little disappointed in our own defense that Hamlet had 20. He scored, and he is a very nice player, but he got a few buckets off of going left, and we had really stressed in practice and in scouting report that he is dominantly left-handed, and there were just a few buckets that we gave up that were a little mind-boggling of why we did that, but he's a very nice player, and he knocked down shots when he was open, and he did a good job as their point guard to hang 20 on us.
And so they did a nice job. Northwest Florida, traditionally a very strong program. Saturday night, traveled to Pensacola, played the Pirates. At halftime, it's all tied. We played 20 minutes, and neither team had outscored the other, so it's 29-29. Final score was 66-56. Let's talk a little bit about that game, Coach.
We were right there, and at halftime we were. I'm sure we felt fortunate to be tied because we had 9 turnovers at the half, and their press at that point at least had not been effective against us, and so it was kind of mind-boggling where maybe we telegraphed some passes and we didn't take care of the ball, and just a lot of deflections that ended up being turnovers that resulted in some buckets for them. But we were hanging right there with them. We had made some shots, and I think we had made 4 or 5 3-pointers in the first half, and so that really helped us hang right in there with them. In the second half, they did a good job of getting back in transition defense, and it became a very methodical game. And we, in a couple of timeouts, we tried to say we need to press the issue, we need to get it and go. And we really were never able to find some transition rhythm, I guess is a term I would use. I guess it would. Transition rhythm in order to get buckets quicker and easier, because sometimes in those grinded out games, and give Pensacola a lot of credit. One is they got us into that pace and that style of game on Saturday. And then also their perimeter defenders did wonderful. KK and Jacoby are both fine players. I mean, really, really good. And in the second half, maybe not the whole game, but in the second half, their perimeter defenders did a nice job of playing good, solid defense on those guys. And so, I want to give Pensacola credit. They needed to defend home, and they came out and did it in the second half.
And so they did that. If we look at scoring, Rivera with 13, Holden with 13. Holden come off the bench and gave you 13.
I told Cam, I've been talking to Cam for a few months now, about just how vital a great sixth man can be. And he can come in for basically 4 of the 5 starters. And he's so versatile. And so been stressing that, and of course he's always started growing up and playing, but he's bought into that, and he's being effective, and of course he sees that he's going to play as many or more minutes than anybody in the game. But even my wife said maybe after the Northwest Florida game or something, and she usually, as a great coach's wife, she says very little, and but she said, boy, Cam keeps playing like this, he's going to find himself a starting position. And I said, yeah, you're right, he's playing great, babe, but man, he's really being beneficial to us, being the guy that comes in, boom, somebody gets a little winded, somebody has a quick foul or 2 quick fouls, and then he might play the next 17 minutes. He might play all the way to halftime. So again, I've already mentioned it once, but I don't know if you can brag on young men too much. I'm just really proud of the way Cam's competed and done for us.
And that 6 man, sometimes coach can be your best player.
Amen.
And in this case, he comes off, he gives you a spark, he can play 4 to 5 slots, and you need that coming off the bench. And sometimes they are the best players, but some folks don't understand that. If you're the best player, then you should start. And so it kind of works its way around in there. If we look at that game, Commodores did turn it over 17 times, like you talked about in the press in there. Shot the ball 35% from the floor, 38% from the three-point line, and 76% from the free throw line. So not a bad shooting night.
From 3 and from the free throw line, it was. You could even use the word good. It was a good shooting night. I guess going back to the turnovers, maybe it's hard to explain. I guess simply putting it though, maybe if we could have shot it a few more times, we could have won, as opposed to turning it over where we didn't even get a shot up.
So that's a good way to put it. Let's look briefly at how the conference is standing right now. Northwest Florida State College 3-0, Chipola 1-1, Tallahassee 1-1. So those 3 teams, you know where they're at. Commodore's off Wednesday night, so we don't play. We play again Saturday here against Chipola. We'll talk about that in a second. Pensacola's got to go to Chipola Wednesday night, and Northwest Florida State College at Tallahassee. 2 big games there.
Yes, our big games. It'll be nice because I'll be able to get up to Marianna Wednesday night to watch Chipola and Pensacola play. Obviously, if anything sticks out about Pensacola, I'll try to notice it, but we'll be able to focus in again on trying to prepare us for the Indians. And I know you'll probably allude to this at the end, but our game is at 4 p.m. on Saturday against Chipola. So it is something for the 2 Saturday games we're doing this season. Allow fans to come out, catch the afternoon game, and then go have dinner, or if it's chilly outside, to get on home before too late and get a good night's rest before church in the morning.
Yep, so Coach Gold and I talked about that earlier. At 2 o'clock, it's Chipola. So it should be a packed house because Chipola fans are going to come. The Commodore rivalry's been there forever. It's a great rivalry. So we play Chipola. And then on Saturday, TCC will be over at Pensacola State College playing. So in that conference game, every game's critical. Every game's important. 2 teams move on to the state tournament, and every coach in the panel conference is all trying to get to that state tournament.
That's right.
And then ultimately trying to move on from there. So, but you got to get there first. So all these games important. One unique thing about, I'll back up a little bit, Pensacola Gulf Coast game Saturday. 10 starters on the floor, 8 of them were freshmen. So you don't normally see that being the case, but we had 4 and they had 4. It's like, wow. So like you said, Coach, the only 2 disciplines a coach has is you sit them during a game and you run them during practice. It's the only way you can change behavior. So 2 big games Saturday at the Billy Harrison Field House. The Commodores will host the Chipola Indians at 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock this Saturday. So come out and support the Commodores. And for Coach Jay Powell, I'm James Baxley. Thanks for watching, Commodore fans, and we'll see you next time on the Commodore Sports Network.
This has been Coach's Corner with your host, James Baxley.